This is Andrew for the Chosen Prime with a video preview of KFC Toys E.A.V.I Phase 9A Kingorilla, or their take on a Masterpiece styled version of the Decepticon Horrorcon Apeface. Apeface was a triple changing headmaster from the original G1 series and cartoon. You can see here that this is a very large figure. This is a early test shot, but it almost feels a production sample quality with the way that this kind of the finish is on this figure. Standing up straight, Kingorilla here, he's actually 9.5 inches here to the top of his headmaster, and 10 inches if you go to the top of his kind of shoulder pauldrons here in the back. He's also quite heavy. He's 1 pound and 15 ounces. There's quite a bit of kind of just weight and die cast on this figure. Like the original Apeface, he has a little bit of back heavy. There's a lot of weight here in this backpack, but then he's got the heel spurs and kind of articulation to kind of hold himself up quite well. His articulation is actually quite nice for being a Masterpiece styled triple changer here. Just a really cool looking figure. So let's go ahead and take a look at some closer up detail for this guy. Taking a closer look here at Kingorilla, you can see that he's got a lot of nice homages to the original version of Apeface here with bits of silver, black. Overall the colors match the G1 toy quite well, and we'll get to those kind of comparisons in a little bit. And overall he's got a fairly clean mode overall. Yes, G1 Apeface did have this large backpack, but then this version, Kingorilla, does do a pretty good job of integrating it all into having his 3 different modes. As far as articulation, the headmaster here does pivot on the head. There's a little bit of tilt, but mostly just rotates. The arms here have strong ratchets forward and back, as well as ratchets outward quite a bit. There is a multiple swivels here in the elbow. So there's this bicep swivel, as well as that one at the lower arm. There's a double joint here to let you curl the arm quite a bit. The wrists can rotate. We have the very nice KFC style hands here with the ball jointed fingers. And these are really nice and beefy looking as far as KFC hands go. He actually does have a ratcheting waist here. Move these hip skirts out of the way. Soft ratchet outwards and soft ratchet forwards. Upper thigh swivel. He's got a knee bend that's here. That's nice and ratcheted as well. The feet have a nice ankle pivot. And then you can move the feet forward and back just a little bit. So he can hold himself up and pose. Pretty surprising for being as kind of complex as this figure is. You can, if you want to, like G1 Apeface, you can move these parts around and kind of move them higher and lower. They have multiple ratcheting points, and we'll show those off when we get to his different modes. As far as accessories, with this test shot, I got a pair of his guns here. They do have a light up feature. Here in this piece, it's just a matter of undoing 3 screws here, and there's 3 little spots here for batteries. And so both guns can light up. And then here you can see the handle for robot modes. One unfortunate thing about this test shot is, unfortunately, there's a little bit of tolerance issue here with these guns in the hands. He can hold them with his fingers, but this peg doesn't really hold into his hands, at least on this test shot. He also comes with a pair of these little kind of rocket effects, and these are for his jet mode. He comes with a version of his G1 toy shield and part of the wing for his jet mode. And it's got hinges to move forward and back, as well as you can rotate it. And so if you want to, there's a peg here, and like the G1 toy, there's a peg hole here or here, and you can just peg it in, and you can have his shield, like the G1 toy. And then the final accessory that this test shot came with was this clear flight stand here, which can hold his guns, as well as hold him up when he's in his jet mode, and we'll show that off in a little bit. Being a version of Apeface and being a headmaster, this is actually the first kind of Masterpiece headmaster that actually has working tumblers for his stats. So if we flip this down, which actually pegs in, you can see he's got stats there. So if we lift up the head, you can see that the tumblers actually move once you plug in Kongor here or Spasma, and you see how the tumblers work, which is really a cool little bonus, nice little thing that they did for Kingorilla here. And if you wanted to, you can flip the head around and have the gorilla mode head, and it does have an opening jaw, and we'll show those kind of things off here in his gorilla mode. And one quick note about his robot mode here, with the backpack does peg in and hold into his back, but if you do ever have an issue with it, what I recommend is coming to this red hinge here, and there's a peg, but then push up on this and that'll fully lock the backpack into place. So, being a test shot, I did not get instructions for Kingorilla here. His transformation is fairly straightforward once you figure it out, but bear with me as I transform him into his first mode, is the gorilla mode. I'm going to begin the transformation by removing his Headmaster Kongor here. Let's lift up and unpeg it, and there's actually a little bit of a spring mechanism here to kind of keep that hole hidden. We'll come to the arms here and the fists, flip open this panel, rotate the hand so the thumb is up on the top, and curl the fingers so you have room for clearance, and then just rotate this piece in, and then close that panel. I'm going to do that on both sides. First things first, we will rotate him at the waist 180 degrees. We'll come to his feet here. The heel spur and the toe fold in, kind of flattening against the front and back of the leg. We come here to this side. This tab that was the front of his crotch will lift up, and you see that there's two tabs here that help hold in the legs. And if you lift up on this back panel here, now the legs can split apart. Bring this panel forward and open up these pieces here. Come to his upper arms here and untab them from the gorilla mode legs here. And you can see there's just a kind of a tab mechanism that locks and holds it down. The backpack will unpeg from the back here. And let's get the kind of gorilla legs here situated a little bit. So straighten them out. And they will actually slide down. You can see there's a channel where they slide up further. And then the actual entire torso stretches like that. Again, this is all a little bit tricky because I'm not quite sure of the actual steps you're supposed to take to transform him. But we want to lift this up and get it so that this, which is the crotch piece, now folds inward. And if we look, there are these purple tabs here that match these spots on the inner legs. And so for now, we'll just tab them in, kind of keeping the legs split like this. And then if we come to the back of each leg, there's a red button here. I'm going to push it, and the legs will collapse in on themselves on each side. And what we essentially want to do is we want to have it so that the robot mode legs push up like this. And so what will end up happening is this red peg here will end up holding part of the torso. So take the leg and just kind of bring it up against the back like this at this angle. Again, it's a little bit tricky. We want to take the backpack and fold it back onto his backpack for the most part. But come to these parts here, these are ratcheted, and ratchet them most of the way forward here so that the backpack can sit essentially flush with the nose cone here, kind of being facing up towards where his head's going to be. And now fully rotate these pieces around so that these plus signs or minus signs match this in the way that they're positioned. And they will actually, this will all sandwich down. And if we look with the locking, that if you get this situated right, where this kind of little gray piece here on the shoulder of the gorilla kind of locks into this spot to kind of hold this into place and kind of get that kind of ratchet set on both sides. And then we can come to the underside of each arm, and that little red peg here will peg in to a gray piece here on that shoulder bit. And it can be a bit tricky to kind of get it lined up, but you can see that it does sit nice and flush like that, and it'll hold everything into place. So again, you can see here, here's where that little red peg is that matches a peg hole here on the silver. And it's cut to fit just right to be able to hold the backpack in for its gorilla mode, just like that. We can fold this onto his back. Now, this little next bit is actually fairly tricky. We want to fold the arms in, so make sure that the torso here is fully extended. Fold the arms in, rotate them forward, and if we look with the arms, we want to make sure that the elbow can curl this way. But then there's this slot or tab here on this top part. So you want to rotate it so that the elbow curves down with that tab here, and there's a slot on the backpack here where this goes in. It's just a matter of kind of getting clearance around the legs and the tail here, or the nose cone. You can see that you can get the clearance to get past it. So we'll do the same thing on the other side. Fold this in on itself, on its two hinges. Make sure that the elbow is curling inward, and then make sure that this arm piece can tab forward and fit underneath the nose cone here. And you can see how it does all fit. There probably is a better way to kind of get to this point, but then it's just a matter of getting those tabs now locked onto his back on each side. This little panel can fold back and kind of fill in this space here. Now we can get out the gorilla arms. So the wings here for the jet mode will kind of unfurl and open up this panel, and you can see that there's where the gorilla front arms are, and it's just a matter of ratcheting them out and taking the kind of front paw here and opening it up, and then collapsing this all back down the way it was before. You can see how there's now one of the front gorilla arms. So we'll do the same thing on the other side. Open this up enough so that we can push down and ratchet and pull this arm out. And you can hear all the different ratcheting joints, a lot of different pivoting points on all his limbs, which is quite nice. Everything seems to lock into place, even as complex as he is. And you do get KFC style kind of gorilla fingers here with an opposable thumb, so you can have him actually be posed on his knuckles, or have him stand up. It's kind of however you'd like to have him be set up. So we'll come to his back legs here. Now, by default, he actually does not need any additional support to be able to hold himself up on those back feet, but he does have additional heel spurs that are made out of metal that we can flip out on each side. And you can see here how each one of these toes can curl like that, and then he's got this other thumb or toe that can move inward and outward. And so if you want to, you can have him standing straight up with his legs extended like that, and they actually do lock into place like that. You can either have him, lock down, or you can have him lock up, depending on how high you want him set up. But we'll move him so that he's kind of stumpier here, and we'll get him situated so he's got his legs as he normally would. So flip, rotate, and turn the legs like that in the back to kind of curl them. Again, you can hear the nice ratchets. He does have outward mobility for the back legs here, and then it's just a matter of kind of getting him situated and posed, and getting him posed in a way that you like. Again, he's got individually articulated fingers here in the front with the thumb, but you can have him be on his knuckles, and all these different ratchets. And the arms here in the front do move side to side and are ratcheted. And then finally, we can take Kongor here and just rotate around for the gorilla mode head. And you can see here that he does again have a opening jaw here with some kind of painted guns in there. Now, due to how strong this kind of pegging holds in, sometimes when you try to push this in, this little panel will fold inward. So I recommend actually just temporarily unpegging the purple pieces here so you can bring this panel forward. And now you can take the head and peg it in fully, and then just repeg these pieces in here. And now we've got Kingorilla here in his quite nice looking gorilla mode. And a lot of options as far as posability. Very nice mode overall. Again, a lot of options as far as setting him up. The head here, and they can rotate. The jaw can open. And just overall pretty clean mode overall here for Kingorilla. Just nice looking version of Apeface here for Masterpiece Collections. Pretty cool. So let's go ahead and move on to his jet mode. To get to his jet mode, we'll first remove the Headmaster here. Then we want to hide the hands. So we want to open this panel up again, but being careful with the fingers, because you can pinch them here if you're not very careful. We want to fold the hand back like this and make sure the thumb is like that. And again, make sure you're not pinching the fingers when you're pushing it in here. And then this should have clearance to then close back up on top. Locking the hand in, and do the same thing on the other side. Raise the arm up so you have room to open this panel up again. Rotate in the arm, fold back the hand and wrist so it's fully laying flat like this. Again, make sure that you have clearance, you don't pinch it on either side, and then close down on this panel. And then we can straighten out the wings on each side. Come to the gorilla legs here, fold in the heel spurs, straighten them out, and then fold the toe or the foot inward and toe like that on each side. So there's more of a straight kind of profile, kind of filled in. Make sure that the legs are fully extended if they weren't already and locked into place. Come to the backpack and untab and pull the robot mode arms out of the way. We can now untab these little sections here, the little red tabs, to get the backpack kind of free and up and over and out of the way temporarily. And now we need to rotate his waist again back to where it was to robot mode. So it's a little bit tricky, but we want to bring this canopy down so we can get these kind of legs up and out of the way to then rotate them fully around. And again, this is kind of a crucial part of his jet mode here. Now we can bring this forward. Okay, the next part here is giving me a bit of trouble. And essentially we need to move the legs here against the body here, but we also need to have it so that this piece comes down and then there's these tabs here, this matches up. And so make sure you're fully extended, make sure the legs are fully extended. Bring this arm down and tab it in, but then kind of move it so that the arm is stretched like this. And now you should be able to bring the leg closer to the side here. And it should slide over this piece here, as well as now you can tab in this red panel here onto the back of the jet mode. So move this piece down, stretch it, make sure that that's tabbed in, and then now the foot should have clearance to come kind of move in here. And again, it's a bit tricky for some reason. There's got to be a better way to do this part than what I'm seeing here, but this essentially is where the back and it needs to end up like that. Now we can take the arms here and rotate them, and there's a tiny little peg hole here that matches a peg on the leg, and it'll kind of sit, the back arms will sit like this against the legs. So we can come to the front of the jet mode here, and now we can just rotate these pieces around like that. And then there are these two tabs on the inside of the arm here, the gorilla mode arm, that'll peg into the side. Straighten the jet mode arm. Again, ratchet, kind of bring this around, fit it, peg it in. We can move the nose cone on its double hinge and move it. And this little piece here, we want to fold this panel down at the top up here, and then these little arms here will move forward, and they're on a little hinge, and there's a tab that'll lock the canopy here into the front once you extend and tab these in. And we can move up the landing gear here, and it'll lock into place. Same thing with the ones here on the arms. You push them until they lock. And we're almost done with this jet mode. So we just take the wing part, like the G1 toy, and there's a peg that matches, peg hole that matches the peg on this piece. And it'll sit in that chamber like that. And here is Kingorilla in his basic jet mode. So you can, if you like, take these little orange pieces here, and they can peg in to the pieces here on his arms to simulate his kind of jet thrusters. You can also take the guns here and just flip in the handle so you have a peg, and the pegs can peg here onto the side of each side of the jet, like that. If we like, we can take the stand, and with it facing this way, there is a peg hole here on the chest that we can peg him in, and you can have Kingorilla flying on his stand fairly securely, or he just does have those working landing gear. So Kingorilla's jet mode here is very nice, very evocative of G1 Apeface, but updated and a little bit more cohesive overall. It is a very large, Masterpiece sized version of Apeface's jet mode, and we'll get to comparisons in a moment. Being a Headmaster, he does of course come with his little Headmaster partner here, Kongor, which is Spasma, and we'll go ahead and take a closer look at his details. Taking a closer look here at Spasma, you can see that his robot head is nice, and of course the gorilla head is nice as well. And to transform, it's standard. You open him up, move his arms, and split his legs, and here's the robot mode version of Kongor. Fairly large overall, quite a bit larger than other Masterpiece Headmasters so far, which I unfortunately don't have any to show off real quick. But just to give you an idea of his size, here he is next to Legends Bronze, so he is quite large. He does have ball jointed hips. His knees really only bend a little bit. Ball jointed hands, hinged elbows. He does have molded hands on the inside here, and his head can rotate, which is where the robot mode's articulation is, and you can see there's a tiny little place for a Decepticon emblem there. But you can also have him pilot the jet mode, and one of the cool little features of the jet mode is there actually is a little LED here in the cockpit for his instrument panel, and just you open up the bottom of the jet mode here, and the little watch battery that fits in there, and if you look, there's a little switch right here, and so by default you can actually turn it on, and you can see that it's blue, and we'll get a little bit closer look. But what's interesting is by the way that this cockpit is designed, when you open it, the part of the cockpit here actually triggers the switch. You can see you can get a better look here at that little LED kind of looking light here. And again, you can switch it on and off, but they've kind of made it so that it kind of auto turns on if you install it with the cockpit with this little tab here. So Kongor can fit in the cockpit. It is a tight fit, so I recommend pushing his legs together and kind of getting him situated in here. And then we can close the cockpit window. And there is Kongor or Spasma flying around in Kingorilla's or Apeface's jet mode. Very cool looking version of Apeface here. So let's go ahead and take a look at comparisons for this guy. Unfortunately, due to Phoenix Comic-Con, most of our samples that we could compare against aren't available to us right now, like Cupola and other Headmasters and the like. But here you can see what Kingorilla looks like next to some other official Masterpieces to give you an idea on his scale here in robot mode. So of course we got the new Masterpiece Megatron on the left, and we've got a standard Masterpiece Seeker here. We've got Starscream, and you can see how he scales pretty well with these other official Decepticons. Nice, big and beefy, not too big, but still big being a Horrorcon, you know, nice scale, and looks good amongst these other figures. His design aesthetic, I think, matches quite well with other Masterpiece Decepticons. Gorilla mode comparison, just to show off his size. You see just how large he is here in his Gorilla mode. Still looks good. Looks like a Masterpiece version of the G1 toy, but quite massive and bulky, but appropriate for other Masterpiece Decepticons that he might be sitting by on a shelf. Comparing Kingorilla's Gorilla mode with some other beast formers. Here we've got Masterpiece Optimus Primal and Masterpiece Cheetor. You can see just how much larger he is. And again, you can move Kingorilla's legs up and down here depending on what height you want. But here you can see just how massive Kingorilla is than other official Masterpiece figures, especially, you know, Beast Force figures. This is, again, not a perfect comparison here, but it gives you an idea of just how large Kingorilla is in his robotic gorilla mode. Comparing the jet mode for Kingorilla here with Masterpiece Thundercracker, you can see just how large Kingorilla is. He's about 13 inches from tip to tip for his wings, and about 14.5 to go from his nose to the back of the jet. So he's quite large, but being a spaceship, it kind of makes sense for him to be a bit larger than the jet here. But I think scale-wise, they look good side by side. It's not too disproportionate. And you know, Apeface was a larger transformer back in G1. And being a monster bot, it's okay that to me that he's a bigger figure. He's not too big, but still a really cool looking jet mode here when compared to other Masterpiece figures. Comparing Kingorilla here with an original G1 version of Apeface, as well as the Titan's Return version of Apeface. This is actually my original G1 version from my childhood of Apeface, which is the only Headmaster I had as a kid. And you can see how they compare here in their robot modes. And you can see how they both do have very large backpacks. This one's back heavy. I even have to use tape to kind of hold this backpack in place because the hinge is so old after all these years. But you can see how they have mimicked different parts of the original Apeface here in Kingorilla. And it's fun to see these two side by side, to see this nice, newer, massive version of Apeface. And then just for a quick comparison, here's the Titan Master head transformed. And again, I think, you know, this head is a little bit wide compared to other Headmasters, but then so was the one for the original G1 Apeface here. Gorilla mode comparisons, and here you see how they sit side by side. Of course, the G1 was a very limited version of a triple changing gorilla, but all the points from this figure match on the effort from KFC on their Kingorilla. It just looks good here. You know, obviously the best version of Apeface that we've gotten yet in toy form. Comparing jet modes across the different Apefaces, you can see just how much larger this jet mode is, the Masterpiece one is, and how much it just looks better than the original G1. It takes, you know, elements from it with like the interesting little pieces here, the little wings, the upper fin. It just kind of fleshes it out for a much larger, much more cohesive version of a jet mode. And here you can see the difference between the different little Headmasters here, of how much larger Kongor here on the left is than the original G1, and of course the Titan Master version of Apeface. Some final thoughts on this preview test shot piece from KFC Toys, their E.A.V.I Metal Phase 9 Kingorilla, or their Masterpiece version of Decepticon Horrorcon Apeface. This is a pretty cool figure. It's a surprise that this figure is as solid as it is, as short as we've known about it. I mean, it is relatively recent that we found out about this figure, and he's due relatively soon, sometime in June. And this is a really solid release, even in this test shot form. The plastic's good, the weight's good, the engineering's good. Feels like it's a step up from previous KFC pieces. He is solid. You got some posability, and he does have all three of his modes. And of course, you know, this really cool working power meter here, tumbler system from his Headmaster. Just an excellent version of Apeface here from KSC. I'm looking forward to the final release. If you'd like to add this version of Apeface to your collection, he is available from pre-order at the Chosen Prime. He should be due sometime in June, so take care.